Bonjour, Ogimaa PNSA Indigenous Magazine Doten, Mabgano Skygun and Donji. Good evening, everyone. This is a new or a different aspect of the channel. Uh, I wouldn't say it's unrelated to the fitness. No, it's sort of related, but in a very different way. Well, I guess maybe this would be better if it's like, yeah, the fitness is focused more on the physical aspect, and what I'm about to talk about, I guess, would be related more to psychological and spiritual. Yeah, I think that would be pretty accurate. And so I'm kind of wondering how does one broach this topic, you know, because historically speaking, unfortunately, although for valid reasons, there's a lot of stigma attached to some of these molecules, you could say, or government calls them drugs or whatever, but they're what I'm referring to is not the classic psychedelics of LSD, psilocybin, mescaline, and DMT. Um, I can't speak to LSD or DMT, but to mescaline and psilocybin, in my own personal experiences, I would say that those two are definitely what I would call spirit molecules. Um, it is my sincere belief that that they're very mysterious, especially psilocybin. Deeply fascinated with psilocybin. Um, it's such a mysterious compound. From a scientific perspective, apparently psilocybin doesn't seem to have much actual use to the mushroom itself, yet it has this profound impact on human consciousness. And so it's like, how is that possible? How that like, and not only that, like from the, I guess it would be the neurophysiological aspect of it, the brain. So yeah, the this is my understanding. In our brain, we have a 5-HT2A receptor. It modulates serotonin. Um, Again, to the best of my knowledge, the serotonergic reward system that's in our brain that kind of monitors our status hierarchy. It monitors, kind of regulates emotions too. But it took hundreds of millions of years for it to develop, right? So like we're talking back to the days of like when crabs and lobsters and that sort of thing were like coming on the scene, and so so it's an old ancient system that's ingrained in many different nervous systems across species, I guess you could say. So okay, fair enough. But in the human species, okay, so we have our serotonergic reward system, and so anyways, serotonin docks onto that receptor just on any given day, on a normal day, right? Which is fine. For me, the mystery is psilocybin, which arrived on the scene approximately 65 million years ago. Was there any major events 65 million years ago? Just out of curiosity. Um, that's when the dinosaurs went extinct, right? Check this out. Psilocybin spores could actually survive a trip in space. They're deep purple in color, and so theoretically speaking, if they were on a comet or on an asteroid and it hit Earth, those spores would spread. And so I don't know. Now, of course, there's no direct evidence to suggest that that's what happened, but it really looks that way to me. So, something to think about. But okay, right. So back to my earlier point. So yeah, psilocybin, when it crosses the blood-brain barrier, it dephosphorylates into psilocin. When it turns into psilocin, it's in its unstable form. But anyways, so at that point, psilocybin and or psilocin docks on to the 5-HT2A receptor, and it actually boots out, like it sticks onto it better, stronger than our own naturally occurring serotonin, which took hundreds of millions of years to develop. And this little fungi just comes along and is like, oh yeah, that's nothing. Well, let me show you something. So it's like, so, that's again just another random kind of mystery about it. But okay, so so yeah, so okay, so of course, as growing up, the first time I took mushrooms was as a teenager, with some friends. Just watch movies, laughed, whatever. The classic, what people often associate with that sort of thing, which is fine. Then yeah, over the years, once in a while, it's at parties or whatever, and you just try it and do it. But it wasn't until 2019 that I had what I would call my first breakthrough experience, and it was interesting, kind of how it all unfolded. But essentially, I went to this dispensary downtown, and they also had like mushrooms there. And so I was like, okay, cool. So, anyways, went in there. I had like 30 or $35 or whatever. I was just like, I'll just get whatever that can get me. And so the guy, if I remember correctly, yeah. Anyways, he gave me this like little 5 gram bag. I'm not sure which strain it was, but whatever strain it was the right one. So I chomped those down as soon as I walked out of the store. I just chomped them down, uh, and I walked home. It took me about 20 minutes to walk home, and so I get home and I'm kind of unwinding. I had no idea what I was in store for. You know what I mean? Like it was a total, just random kind of. I just happened to have that money, and that was the amount he gave me. And then later on, I found out that that's like considered a heroic dose or whatever. Because like I said, as a teenager, you do smaller amounts, like a couple grams or whatever, and like I said, you're just hanging out, partying and stuff. But this, scenario, how like I said, how it unfolded is like, oh, okay, 5 grams, okay, and so yeah, oh man, this was like like I said, I could, there was no way I could have ever anticipated this, right? You don't go into this thinking, oh, like, no, I was like anyone else. But after, like, it was just like whoa, like wow. So okay, this is what happened. So I remember it distinctly. I remember it like it was yesterday. So like I said, I was just at my house or whatever, and I was like listening to music, and and then I don't know the timing of it when it kicked in, and the song was playing. The song was "Circle" by Slipknot, which I'd listened to 100 times, right, and it just had no particular meaning. But with the high dose, and like I said, as soon as it kicked in, for some strange reason, man, the lyrics to this song all of a sudden just took on a whole new meaning. Like, honestly, it was really strange and bizarre, but at the same time, it was just like, holy fuck, man. I was like, it was just like, it was so awesome. But anyways, so yeah, and then it was like in waves, and so like there's this chorus in the song, all that I wanted, and like there's like this reverberation, and oh man, and that's the other thing too with psilocybin, synthesia, right? So that's the crossing over of different senses, and so the music is playing, and it's generating these internal closed eye visuals, right? And they're very vivid, very powerful. Like it's undeniable. It is undeniable. And so yeah, like I said, it was just a wave of just, oh, and it was so epic, and it was like, man, it felt like God Himself was parting the clouds and smiling upon me. It was just like, man, it was such a powerful, profound moment. It was just like, man. And I remember like kind of dropping down to my knees and just kind of like overwhelmed with like joy and ecstasy, and just like, man, I didn't know it was possible to feel so good. It was just like, man, it was insane. It was absolutely insane. You know, it was just that experience was the catalyst for Mushroom Heaven, which was a little podcast thing I did back in the day, back in 2019. It was just a short, 2 or 3 month project or whatever. Um, but yeah, so that first one, that first breakthrough experience was just, and so when you make when you have an experience like that, it's just so mind blowing, so like it's so intense, like I just because like I said, had never felt that good before in my life at that time. That yeah, after that, I just wanted to keep going back as often as I could. It just you know so and then maybe for a little while there, maybe I went a little overboard or whatever. But anyways, you live and learn, right? And so the point is, so yeah, years later, I've read tons of books on it, documentaries, podcasts, this, that, and the other, right? And so now my approach to it is a little different than it was back then, right? Like so now it's very, you know, once every few years sort of thing, right? And because realistically, if you're doing them responsibly and ethically, and once you've healed and you've really dealt with some of that stuff, there's just no need to, it's don't get me wrong, it's a nice, but like I said, I don't know, it's I guess, but also the thing too with high dose experiences, you actually have to work up the courage to do it because because it's not always like that. Like, so remember this. Okay, so yeah, so that first experience I just described, that's an extremely positive, awesome experience. Statistically, according to Johns Hopkins, on one of their studies, this was years ago, but I think they said like 70% of their participants were having mystical experiences. So that sounds about right. But anyways, so just to also preface that high dose experiences can also be very, how shall we say, very challenging, very dark. Yeah, there can be experiences that are very dark, and if you're not ready for that, if you're not like, you know, so tread carefully, I guess. And really, this I'm not like promoting it or anything. I'm just sharing my story. That's really what this is. I just kind of reached a place in my life where I just felt like I need to start sharing some of these stories because there are a lot of them, and different ones kind of healed like a different aspect of my soul, I guess. Like I don't know, it's strange, but yeah. So okay, so I just kind of wanted to introduce the topic and just kind of like yeah, over the next little while, you know, I'll probably try and tell a story maybe once a week or something. Because they're powerful stories, and I'm also going to be selective too. I'm not going to tell all of them, but certain ones that I feel are worth sharing, and hopefully someone out there will be like, oh, and maybe do something with that, because the implications for psilocybin, what can be applied to, depression is a major one, anxiety, PTSD. There's actually been some studies to show that it can cure or treat cluster headaches, which is like totally random. But anyways, the point I'm making is it has a broad application across many different categories, and just for your general mental health and well-being, your spiritual health, all that stuff. It does so much because it gives your brain a reset. It can rewire the brain, neuroplasticity, neurogenesis. It's been shown to promote those in the brain. So it really can rewire your brain if you allow it to, if you work with it, in a respectful, ethical, responsible manner. And so I can't echo that point enough, right? But anyways, okay, that was the goal of this video, was just to introduce the topic, and yeah, more will be revealed. So hope everyone has a good night. All right, thank you.